Hey, Andrew.
Yes, Steven?
You know how we romanticize the days of going out to our local video store and sifting through endless amounts of movies, searching for our favorite films, and maybe even finding some hidden gems?
Oh yes, I know it all too well. That used to be my favorite thing to do. Unfortunately, everything is online now.
Well, what if I told you that there was a place online where you could get some of them same thrills as going to the video store?
Are you talking about Orbit DVD?
I knew you knew what I was talking about. Orbit DVD is located in Asheville, North Carolina, and online with OrbitDVD.com, they bring you everything your physical media heart desires.
Yeah, they have an awesome website that stays up to date with the latest releases from all of your favorite boutique labels as well as studio releases. Not only do they carry American labels such as Criterion Collection, Severin Films, Vinegar Syndrome, and Warner Archive, but they get routine shipments on imports from companies such as 88 Films, Arrow Video, Imprint, and so much more.
And with the option to sell or trade your used copies for cash or store credit, they really bring that video store vibe to you. So go to OrbitDVD.com and stock up on your Blu-rays.
And tell them Chasing Labels sent you.
Welcome to another episode of Chasing Labels. I am your host, Stephen Billings, and with me as always is your other host, Andrew Cabral. How you doing, man?
Doing good. We are back here once again for another thrilling episode of Chasing Labels.
Man.
I feel like I need to get all radio-y every time we start off.
I don't know why, as soon as you said thrilling episode, like I was like, for some reason the scene where Ace Ventura is like in the second movie, where he's like in the car and he's like acting like it's bumpy, but it's not. And then
when they're on the paved road in Africa.
Well, actually, I'm mixing both movies because one song is coming to my Secret Agent Man, where he's like down.
No, that's the second movie.
Okay.
When there's a montage,
but it's not the
of
same
him,
scene.
like, doing
not the same scene.
Agent stuff.
Yeah.
No, that's the one where they're driving to the consulate.
Yeah.
And he takes a right turn into the woods and he starts singing Chitty Chitty Bang
Chitty,
Bang.
bang, chitty,
And they're just flying over like rocks and stuff.
God, I love that. Like Wayne's World, I love both of them movies. Like, I don't care. I know people typically go for the first one, but the second Ace Ventura, though probably some problematic things in that movie, I still love the movie. It's fun. It's a fun movie for me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I watched it incessantly on VHS as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, incessantly.
Probably
way too young.
Your balls are showing.
Bumblebee tuna.
Oh, man.
It's a damn shame that you bring that up, that it's gotten several releases, just to kind of, bring it back into the show. It's gotten several releases on Blu-ray, and there are always issues. There's always, it's notorious that they cut out one of the scenes from the home video releases.
It's
the scene everyone knows about.
Yeah, I bought the most recent Blu-rays of them movies, and I haven't even looked at them yet, so I don't...
To see whether they have the scene or not?
Yeah,
I don't think they
Well,
do.
I know in the first movie, we talk about it all the time, the dolphin trainer scene.
Yeah, the dolphin scene's the one they cut out,
Yeah.
and I still don't know why. I don't know if they cut it for TV for, syndication broadcasting reasons, or if they cut it because it's offensive, but it's like the whole first movie is incredibly offensive if you and problematic
if you
look
want
at
to,
it
if you want to
in a
get
lens.
upset about it, sure.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, the movie came out in 1994, where the sensibilities were much different than they are now.
I know one scene they always talk about is the one because of the character being transgender or having surgery.
Hugely transphobic.
Yeah. At the end of the movie,
movie.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole climax of that movie is horrifically transphobic.
Yeah.
But we're talking 1994 mindset and politics and culture of the time.
Yeah.
If you look back growing up in the 90s, this is not getting all political here. Us growing up, we were exposed to so much, transphobia, fat phobia, homophobia. All these things were so inherent in the culture. And it's like, we're looking back at it now, it's like, man, they really screwed us up as kids, exposing us to all of that stuff.
Luckily, I didn't focus on any of that stuff.
We were young and naive at the time. But, Ace Ventura and Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, coming out right there in the mid-90s, kind of the launch of Jim Carrey's career, is just fascinating. It's kind of a shame that they've gotten several Blu-ray releases, like I said, but not quite
the complete package.
The complete package or deluxe editions I think that we wanted them to be. I know Sony's released a 25th anniversary edition that came out in 2019, which apparently looks very good.
It's what I have.
Yeah, it's a single release. I know they came out with a double,
I have that too, still, because it's got the cartoon in it. It's got the cartoon episodes in there too.
Yeah, the original DVD release. The double DVD release came with 3 episodes of the cartoon, which I think to this day is not assembled even on DVD in any way. I think that's the only way you can see it in physical media form. I don't even know if it's streaming. A lot of those 90s cartoons are kind of went the way of the dodo when it came to...
Yeah, didn't they do a cartoon for The Mask as well?
They did.
Yeah.
They did one of The Mask. They did one of Back to the Future, which they have put out on DVD.
They should do one for Dumb and Dumber. They should do one for Dumb and Dumber. That would be hilarious.
How gay.
God, Dumb and Dumber cartoon would be amazing. That's perfect for cartoon for something that
because they could go all wonky and bonkers.
It'd be like
with
Beavis and Butthead, but it would be
Speaking of which, Beavis and Butthead are back.
Yeah, they're back.
There's a new movie.
They do the universe.
There's a new TV show. I think.
Yeah, the show's coming too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's stuff from the '90s is all making a comeback.
You know how it is, man. We did the '80s thing. Now it's the '90s turn, and then next thing you know, boy bands are going to be back.
Yeah, I mean, they never really went away. I mean,
yeah, but they're not popular
and Backstreet
anymore.
Boys, they all still tour and stuff.
But they're not popular anymore, and there's not new boy bands being made, really.
True. Oh, well, they have K-pop and stuff like that.
You know something I don't, because I don't know anything new.
Well, the young Korean boy bands, essentially.
It's news to me.
There was a huge K-pop craze a few years ago. People just went bananas for all of that stuff. I mean, it's a little past our generation, but I know a lot of people love that stuff, and that's kind of the new boy band era. But back to where we were
physical
supposed to
media,
be.
chasing labels.
I know, damn.
What the fuck are we doing? What show are we doing?
Yeah, this is episode in spine number 60, so we made it past the 50s. We're now 60, and I feel like 60 is a number that needs to be praised a little more. Everybody goes gaga for 50, but I think 60 is just as good of an accomplishment.
I would, as people say, the 60 is the new 50, so...
yes.
We're, the way the world is with the medicines and things, we're feeling younger, even though our age is
feeling
getting
good.
up there.
Feeling fit.
Yeah.
And speaking of fit, it's not a great transition, but we do have a number of things to get into this week, not as gargantuan as last week. Last week was just a monster double-sized episode of just slate after slate, announcement after announcement. And this week it's a little more subdued.
And with
back down to earth.
And with our guest Michael Brook, he was great, and
he was fantastic. We got into all kinds of stuff, both on air and off air.
Yeah.
So it all went really, really well. Just a wealth of knowledge of, how things work when it comes to putting out a lot of these releases and stuff, which is really cool to see.
You know what we need to do? We need to try to set up a clash of the Titans. We need to get 2 of our guests that we've previously had on together. We should do that crap too. That'd be awesome.
No, that would be a very long episode.
I know, right?
We should get
a Brad Henderson, a Michael Brook together. That would just turn into their show. They would just talk forever.
I know. Speaking of bringing up Brad Henderson, so a little preview of next week's show. This Monday, August 1st, 2022, for those of you listening in the future, Vinegar Syndrome and their partner label is going to announce 13 titles for next month, so that is on the horizon. I guess that's their thing now. They did it July 1st, now they're doing it August 1st.
It's good for us because it gives us a week to go through, if we can, go through some of these titles so that we can be prepared for the episode.
I would much prefer Monday or Tuesday versus Thursday or Friday when it comes to announcements.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened this week, where Arrow waited until Friday to do these announcements and gives us a very short window to get into it. But we'll do our best to get into all of their stuff. But first, we want to start off... I guess we'll start off with Warner Archive.
Yeah.
Because they were a late entrant last week, so I guess that'll be like an extension of last week's episode a bit.
Yeah.
They announced their September releases. There were three movies and 2 television show stuff, which we don't cover, so it's irrelevant to us. But they're putting out Rachel, which is directed by Paul Newman starring his wife, Joanne Woodward. And this is a film that I'm so glad is finally getting a release. Came out in 1968. I've been watching The Last Movie Stars, the 6-episode docuseries about Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward on HBO Max, which is currently streaming. And it's an amazing look at their relationship, their careers, and how they intertwined and things like that.
I'm into
and to talk about Rachel.
Yeah, I'm into the second episode now. It is
nice.
I mean, Ethan Hawke did an amazing job so far that I've seen, just kind of taking something that wasn't meant to. It was meant to be one thing, and then it got like almost just basically destroyed. Right? There were tapes of conversations.
Oh yes.
But then they were transcribed.
I think they were working on a memoir.
Yeah.
When Paul Newman passed away in 2008, I believe, and they had all of these tapes of interviews with all kinds of people that had, impacted the lives of Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, whether it be career-wise or personal-wise, and they also had tapes of themselves talking, and then it was all destroyed, all burned up, but they have the manuscripts from it, the transcripts from it, so Ethan Hawke has decided to bring in, I guess, all of his actor friends or just people he knows and have them recite the
they all
script,
play different characters, different people in the George Clooney's playing Paul Newman.
Yeah, Laura Linney is playing Joanne Woodward. Zoe Kazan, I believe, is playing Paul Newman's first wife.
Yeah,
and he's bringing in someone to be all kind of.
It's a very really interesting. Fantastic. It's a very interesting way to do this
approach.
Yeah,
and it's done through Zoom calls.
Yeah.
Because it was made during the height of COVID, where you couldn't really interact with people in real life. So what's most fascinating to me is seeing who randomly shows up on some of these Zoom calls.
Yeah.
Like at one point he's talking to Martin Scorsese. At one point, I can hear him talking to Paul Schrader. At another point, he's talking to Billy Crudup. He's talking to Steve Zahn. He's talking to whomever, and it's just who's going to show up next in these Zoom calls? Yeah. They're all just edited together in a mishmashed way. It's really fantastic. And they talk about Rachel, and they talk about at what point in their careers and lives that Rachel, became a thing, and it was after kind of the boom and the height and just the excitement around Paul Newman's career, and Joanne Woodward's career had kind of, gone downward, and her life had changed in many ways. And at that point, she literally says in the transcript that she didn't think anyone would ever cast her in a movie, at that point. So Paul Newman was like, I'll cast you, I'll do it. And you get Rachel, which is a great film. It's about kind of a woman called Rachel, and she's a 35-year-old school teacher, and she's kind of a spinster woman, if you will.
Is her name actually Rachel?
No,
or is
I think
it just her first
Rachel.
name twice?
I know, her first name's just Rachel.
Hi, my name's Rachel. Rachel, how you doing?
It's not like Mario in the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, and she's kind of going through I don't know, not quite a midlife crisis, but it's kind of maybe a last hurrah type of thing for someone at her age when it comes to maybe one last chance at finding someone, a significant other in her life, and she begins to have these existential kind of crises of that point. What does she want in her life? What does she not want? I saw the movie a few years ago, so please excuse me if I'm not remembering it correctly. But all I know is that Joanne Woodward is an incredible actress.
Oh yeah,
and
that
documentary highlights how great she is.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough of her stuff, and just watching that documentary really makes me want to get into her work because she's so dynamic, charismatic, and the one film she did where she won her Oscar, I think, is The Faces of Eve.
Yeah, Three Faces of Eve, which I have seen.
I need to see that.
Yeah, there is a Blu-ray release of that. Not many of her movies, unfortunately, have Blu-ray releases. Specifically, her early stuff, I think, needs to be, picked up more. So, Three Faces of Eve, that Blu-ray came out in 2013. I think it may be out of print, but you can still find it very cheaply. Someone's selling it on third-party Amazon for $5. So, you can find it. But a lot of her early stuff, specifically No Down Payment, has a Twilight Time release. It is still available. You can buy it on screenarchives.com. And it's still in print. Came out in 2018. Long Hot Summer, I think you can still find. Some of the other stuff, like The Fugitive Kind, is available from Criterion. From the Terrace, I think you can still find. Paris Blues, the Kino release is out of print, but you can get the BFI release from the UK, which actually has some special features and that the Kino one doesn't. But yeah, a lot of her stuff is available. She was in The Drowning Pool along with Paul Newman. Her and Paul were in a lot of movies together. I think they were in like
16, 15, I think.
Yeah, 15 or 16 movies together. So there's plenty of that stuff out there, whether it be on Blu-ray or DVD. More DVD than Blu-ray, unfortunately. But yeah, Joanne Woodward, fantastic actress. Rachel, really good film. I'm really excited to get this. So there's that film. They are releasing also Abe Lincoln in Illinois. Another kind of quasi Abe Lincoln biopic. It covers like his early years up until he ran for president.
Oh man, so this is the prequel to the Lincoln movie by Spielberg.
I guess it is. It's directed by John Cromwell. Who?
Wait, not the actor John Cromwell.
No, not the actor John Cromwell, but he directed Since You Went Away. He directed Made for Each Other, Of Human Bondage, which is the Bette Davis film from 1934, which is an incredible film. I think it was Bette Davis's first Oscar nomination, maybe. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But he directed that. But this movie stars, I think, Raymond Massey. Yeah, Raymond Massey, who I think he shows up in Arsenic and Old Lace as like the older brother who like just got out of prison. Don't quote me on that. Or maybe he didn't. Maybe I'm a little off on that. But yes, he is. He is in it. Yeah, he's in Arsenic and Old Lace. He's in a lot of films actually. Matter of Life and Death, Possessed, Chain Lightning. Yeah, he's in East of Eden. So yeah, kind of a character actor. Not really well known. He reminded me a lot of Boris Karloff. I don't know why, because they're both really tall, kind of gaunt.
Yeah.
Gaunt actors. So physically, he reminded me of him. But this is a fine movie. It's kind of like what a biopic would be, circa 1940. I got to watch it.
Did it start out where it was like at the end of the movie, and then it went back to do that whole thing?
Did it? I'm trying to think. I don't think it did.
Because that's how like most of the biopics are. Is but you know I don't think they really started doing that until later on, where they started like starting out the story at the end of the story, and then like being like, I got to go reflect on my life, and then go back, and then like lead.
Yeah, It's not one of those.
Okay.
But it does cover like him running, like getting political and stuff like that. Like it does start with like his origins, where he was his poor origins and stuff like that. Then he gets into politics, and it kind of takes off from there. And then it goes through like his personal relationship with his first love, who unfortunately passed away. Then of course he meets Mary Todd, who is played by Ruth Gordon actually. Ruth Gordon being famous for being in Harold and Maude and in Rosemary's Baby. Much later on, of course, she was in the Clint Eastwood films, Every Which Way But Loose and Every Which Way You Can. Yeah, so I didn't even recognize her until I looked it up on IMDb afterward. And I was like, oh, wow, Ruth Gordon was in this. So there's that. And then we're getting a Blu-ray re-release of King Kong from 1933. And this is typically what Warner Brothers has done, is they've taken a lot of their stuff that they released through their main line early on, and they just re-released it through Warner Archive Collection.
Yeah.
Usually it's the same disc, same on-disc contents, no real difference other than you get it in a regular Blu-ray case with the Warner Archive logo on it.
It's kind of sad that with such an iconic movie that it gets such a lame kind of just single disc release.
Not only that, but the original release was a digibook release, which I have. I noticed they're doing that with a lot of their early digibooks. That's kind of the trend as well. Like they did this same thing with Cabaret, Meet Me in St. Louis, Guys and Dolls. I think all got this kind of Warner Archive re-release, like bearer edition. If you will.
Bearer.
Just,
yeah.
just putting the disc into this set here. I guess it's a cheap way for them to put it out again, because a lot of those digibooks are out of print and kind of tough to find. They're not manufacturing them anymore. Digibooks have kind of gone away a bit. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I mean, the whole needing to put it, unless it's thicker, it needs to be thicker than, they're not making skinny. If the package needs to be bigger than a normal Blu-ray, disc, thing, a normal, then they're just going to put it in a plastic pack. But if it needs to be bigger than that, then they'll go for cardboard or something. But
I noticed that steelbooks have not gone away at all. They keep releasing.
I look at steelbooks like I look at 3D. I don't.
Oh, do you?
I do.
I know there are very many steelbook enthusiasts. I have several in my collection.
I just don't. I don't see that. I mean, it's fine. I have some myself, but I don't go out of my way for the steelbook version of anything that gets released. I just don't get it. But
I don't. Sometimes the artwork on these steelbook editions are gorgeous, like stunning, and they're worth paying, I guess, a couple of dollars more for it if you so inclined. But usually the on-disc content is the same as the regular release. Usually that's the point. Usually when it comes to digibook, why I was so fascinated with digibook is you would get a little bit of extra content that was exclusive to it. You would get some pages of like, or whether it be essays or pictures or stuff like that. Usually they would take a few pages from, those big kind of like visual books that they would come out with after a movie comes out. Like they did it with Dune, they did it with Blade Runner, they did it with like the Hobbit movies, those big kind of, visual books that kind of break down like the concept art and all this kind of stuff. They'll usually take a few pages from that, break them down, condense them into a smaller form, and put that in the digibook. That's what they did for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was kind of cool. But it's a shame that they're doing this with King Kong, because I have a feeling that this movie is going to get a special edition 4K UHD release at some point.
I was
somewhere
wondering the treatment they've given something like a Casablanca or you'd think that would be the treatment they would want to give to a film like this that's so, seminal to film history,
Yeah, and what is interesting to me, just, in general, is that the original disc and the same disc they're putting in this edition came out in 2010. So it's a 12-year-old disc. It's a VC1 codec, which is a codec that is not even used anymore or shouldn't be used anymore. And it's like this needs a remastered release because it's an iconic movie, stop motion animation. It's an iconic character that's been reused so many times that they're still making King Kong movies. It's 2022. We just had Godzilla and King Kong duke it out. So I'm curious why they're choosing now to do that and not just giving us something new for it. But we'll see. So that's it for Warner Archive. There's nothing else available. So let's move on to Kino, right? Let's go to Kino Town. Yeah, because we didn't utilize them last week because they only had a few releases. So we'll pick up right where Kino left off, which is usually a journey. Usually a journey. Speaking of which, for me, I just got my order in from their spring into summer sale, which ended on July 18th, and I just got my order in like this past week, so it took like a month to get it, which is I think they're a little backed up when it comes to stuff. It must have been. Right now.
I guess whenever I've partaked in the sale, I usually am really quick, so I always usually get mine pretty fast.
Yeah, I usually wait till the last day, last hour of the last day. That could be it. Okay, so I did find out where we need to pick up. So
Okay.
we're picking up with, speaking of Paul Newman, he's all in the news lately. People can't see this. I'm even wearing a Paul Newman related T-shirt right now. That's
Oh.
how much this is such a Paul Newman related episode that we're going through. So we are getting a 4K UHD release of his film Nobody's Fool, which coincidentally just got a Blu-ray release from Imprint that just came out this month, like literally, and they announced it kind of the same day it came out. But this is his film from 1994, starring Paul Newman, Bruce Willis, Melanie Griffith, Jessica Tandy is in the film as well. It's written and directed by Robert Benton, who did Kramer versus Kramer. I think also did his film Twilight, which is not the Twilight you people may be thinking of. Which I think Twilight also got an Imprint release.
It's in the set,
it's part of that After Dark neo-noir set. And this movie had two Oscar nominees. It had an Oscar nomination for Paul Newman and had an Oscar nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay by the director. I like this movie, and I'm, usually, and in my indecisive and, waiting ways, I guess I didn't pick up the one from Imprint, so I can get this release. Essentially. There's no special features listed yet or anything like that. It just says coming soon.
And that's what Kino does.
From a 4K scan of the original camera negative.
Yep.
So that's what I'm waiting for. So hope this could come out later this year, or it could come out next year for all we know. I'm assuming and hoping this year.
All right.
I know you've seen the movie, Steven.
Yeah, we talked about it before. Yeah,
we probably
it's a sweet small. Yeah, when we talked about it with the Imprint release, it's a sweet small town movie. Paul Newman's fantastic in it. Yeah,
he plays like doesn't he have like an estranged relationship with his son? Yeah, and he's trying to kind of reconcile that, and he's part of a small town. He's kind of not so good of a guy.
He's kind of he's kind of like wandering around. He doesn't seem very committal to anything. He's just kind of trying to get by.
Right. But moving on from there, we have a release that's from Scorpion Releasing, but it's also through Kino. And that is Dr. Death, Seeker of Souls. He's a specialist in his field. It's a horror film from 1973 with that title.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this, but this could be with that tagline, this could be fun because it's not taking itself seriously, so maybe this is a hidden gem. I don't know.
Yeah, it is it's from a 2015 HD master from the original camera negative. You're getting audio commentary by the star John Considine. That's kind of cool. Interview with the actor as well. And the premise is this: meet the charming, flamboyant Dr. Death, the incredible John Considine, a 1,000-year-old man who has mastered the art of selective reincarnation, in quotes, promising to keep one's soul alive forever. The catch: he needs a fresh body to host it for you, and finding willing partners is an impossibility. Oh, I guess it would be.
Well, based off the IMDb, at least, it's only giving itself horror as its, only category of genre. So maybe it takes itself completely seriously.
Could be. It could be unintentionally funny.
Maybe.
It could be one of those, but it seems very, very interesting. I thought it was an 80s horror just by the title of it and just by the premise. I was like, that sounds like an 80s horror, B movie.
Yeah.
But no, it came out 1973 which is pre-Texas Chainsaw, pre-Halloween, pre-Friday the 13th. So I'm always curious about those kind of iconic horror films.
Yeah.
Because they don't get a lot of spotlight, I feel. But we'll get into more kind of, pre-iconic horror later. But moving on from there, we have another film called Jason's Lyric, a Doug McHenry film, and this is actually a really good film. This film stars Alan Payne, Jada Pinkett Smith, Bokeem Woodbine is in the film as well, Eddie Griffin, and Forrest Whitaker is in there.
Great cast.
This is a film that's great cast. This is a film very much in the same wavelength or same line as Menace to Society or Boys in the Hood. It's in that era of kind of examining a young African American youth and growing up in harsh times and dealing with family drama as well as local cultural drama and having to live within that world. And it's very good film. It is currently streaming on HBO Max if people are interested in wanting to check it out. You can definitely go there and give it a watch. It's definitely worth your time. It's a little long. It's about just under 2 hours long. May overstay its welcome a little bit. But you have these two brothers played by Alan Payne and Bokeem Woodbine, and they are kind of the complete opposites of one another. Alan Payne is he's the good son. He's the one who takes care of his mother, has a steady job, keeps himself, clean, and, stays kind of a rather straight and narrow line considering the world he lives in. Bokeem Woodbine is the bad son, the black sheep of the family, the person who's in and out of prison. He's always getting into trouble, dealing and using drugs and alcohol, all this kind of stuff. And so you have that tenuous relationship between the two, and it's really, really good. And you also see a tragic event that happened in their past that kind of set them on this journey of being so different. It's really good. There's a romance between Alan Payne's character and Jada Pinkett Smith at some point in the film. It's a really good film. I definitely recommend it for people. If people like Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood, this is a film that is in that line.
Awesome. It's one I hadn't really heard of, so it's a nice,
neither did I.
Nice dark horse, brought in there to. Now you have you're comparing it to them other two films. Now you have a trifecta of films you could watch in a night.
It's like a triple feature of all those themes, those similar themes that go together with one another. I had never heard of this movie. I'm not a big fan of the title. Jason's lyric, kind of throws you off about what the movie's actually about. I don't know if it's based off of a work of the same name, or if that's the reason why. But yeah, it's good. I would recommend people check it out. So moving on from there, we've got The Blue Iguana. Oh man, Steven. How do I explain this movie to people? Okay, starring Dylan McDermott, very young Dylan McDermott. This movie came out in 1988. Dean Stockwell's in the movie. So it's written and directed by John Lafayette, who directed Child's Play 2. So this movie, imagine the genre mashup of like 1950s noir meets Western, but taking place in a Mexican outlaw city called Diablo.
Okay. That's
how you get this movie. It feels similar, and it's not as good or ingenious of a movie as Six String Samurai, but it has that vibe to it where you're mishmashing all of these weird genres, and it's like, it's comedic and satirical, and is it supposed to be? Is it not supposed to be? You're not quite sure. And it's an interesting movie that I don't think you're supposed to take too seriously because of all of those mishmashes of genres and the way they approach the tone. But Dylan McDermott plays this. He's like a private eye / bounty hunter, and he gets hired to go down to this Mexican city called Diablo that has absolutely no rules, no law, no nothing. It's just random chaos. But apparently there's a bank there where a lot of money laundering happens. So he's supposed to stop like this money laundering transfer of $20 million and steal it, or steal this money from this bank. And when he gets down there, he, gets into all kinds of trouble with a lot of the local people, a lot of the local gangs and all this kind of stuff. And of course there's a romance angle, and people are trying to, make deals with people and screw over people. One of the bad guys in the movie is played by Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
He just loves to pop up
and he's just hamming it up the whole time.
Yeah.
I always forget that he's an actor as well, and he just randomly shows up in movies sometimes. And he's not bad. He's not a bad actor at all.
Look, and I'm not saying this other person's a bad actor because he's obviously a good actor, but I take Flea over having to see what's his name in another movie play Joker. 30 Seconds to Mars guy.
Oh, Jared Leto?
Jared Leto. That motherfucker goes from being a rock star and being an actor, and he just won't stop. Like he's overstaying his welcome for me. He's a little crazy. He's a little
You're
crazy.
You're not the only one. He also has a lot of problematic issues more off screen.
Yeah, he's got he's a little nuts.
Yeah, he's a little. There's so much to get into when it comes to him.
but Flea, every time
work.
Flea shows up in something, it's always fun.
Yeah, I mean Flea did a lot of work early on in like the 80s and stuff. Obviously, you know, as the Red Hot Chili Peppers, you know, got bigger and bigger, you know, his priorities probably changed. But he was, I think he's in Penelope Spheeris's Suburbia.
He is, yep.
He's actually really good in that movie.
Yeah, yep.
He's really fantastic in that movie. Yeah, he's not a bad actor. It was great to see him shows up, and he plays this over the top, like Tony Montana, Edward G. Robinson type gangster. It's such a weird mishmash movie. Like they'll be driving like 50s cars, but like using modern guns in shootouts and stuff. Yeah. It's so weird.
He likes to play tainted youth, you know, type of. But
so.
nowadays
or
he's
eccentric
playing
characters.
Yeah. He plays all across the board though. I mean, like he was in the movie Boy Erased, and I didn't even
yes, he was.
remember.
Oh,
and he was in Queen and Slim of the last few years. Like
oh my goodness, yes,
he just shows up and stuff. And then he was
shows up randomly.
He was in Obi-Wan Kenobi. I forgot. Yeah, he was in the couple scenes.
Oh
he played that one.
My goodness, he was in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for anyone listening, he has a small role in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
And he's going to be in Damien Chazelle's next movie, Babylon.
Oh, that'd be wild.
Man,
wild.
Flea is the man.
Yeah, Flea's doing it all.
Yeah.
He's doing it all. But speaking of, I guess, doing it all, not the best transition I've ever made, but the next movie we have to talk about here is The Score. Movie starring Robert De Niro, Edward Norton, Angela Bassett, and I think this is the last role for Marlon Brando. This movie came out in 2001, and I've seen it years ago. And, yeah, so an aging thief who was portrayed by...
De Niro.
No, not portrayed. An aging thief portrayed by Robert De Niro is convinced to do one last heist. And of course, it's going to get complicated because things are going to go south. Because that always happens in these movies when an aging thief has to do one last big score or one last big heist. Things don't go according to plan.
One last time, yeah.
Yeah, just one last ride.
Yeah.
This movie's directed by Frank Oz, of course, of puppetry and Yoda fame and all that kind of stuff.
But it's also directed a lot of stuff too.
He also directed a lot of stuff, and people don't really, kind of remember him as a director.
I mean, but what about Bob is?
Yeah, he directed What About Bob? He directed Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, A Little Shop of Horrors, the 1986 film starring Rick Moranis, which is an iconic film.
Didn't he direct the original Death at a Funeral?
Let me look it up. Actually,
I think he did.
He directed the remake.
Oh, he did. Okay, he directed the remake of it. Okay.
Yeah, the remake in is that the remake? The one in 07?
I think so. So I think that the original was a little older than that. I think.
Hold on, I gotta look this up.
Yeah, please.
You know what? That is the original.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that is the original.
Okay.
Yeah, you were right, Steven.
I knew something.
I get so good because for me, 2007 doesn't feel old enough.
It doesn't really feel old.
For an original movie to be remade after that.
Yeah.
But apparently it is.
Yeah.
Because the remake was in 2010 with Chris Rock and Martin Lawrence and all that. That was directed by Neil LaBute, different director.
Wasn't who was in the original? Didn't it have
Peter Dinklage?
Peter Dinklage, yes.
Peter Dinklage, Alan Tudyk is in it, Matthew McFadden.
Yeah, so you're saying it didn't need to be remade. I got you. Probably not.
I never saw the remake. I've only seen the original, and the original is hilarious.
Yeah.
Just awkward situational comedy at a funeral.
Yeah.
Dark comedy at a funeral. Very British, that British style comedy and stuff like that. Yeah, so you're right. You were correct in that. But he's directed a lot more stuff than I think people remember him for. People just remember him for obviously his work with the Muppets and his work with, playing Yoda in Star Wars and things like that. But yeah, he's directed a lot of movies. I don't know if I'm an apologist or anything like that. I really like the movie Bowfinger.
Oh, I like Bowfinger.
Which he directed.
Yeah.
Came out in '99. I own the Blu-ray of this. I saw this in theater. It's not. Is it a good movie? Probably not. But my God, I think it's hilarious.
It's about making movies. It's about making movies. We can't help it.
It's a movie about making movies, and it just doesn't. And it just pokes fun at that.
It's almost
to the nines.
It's almost the Tommy Wiseau story before Tommy Wiseau. Like it was.
Oh yeah, because Steve Martin plays this Bowfinger, director guy who's just not good at his job.
Well, he's trying to make a movie because he wants to make money.
He's trying to put together a movie where the main actor doesn't know he's in the movie.
Yeah,
so he's trying to shoot around him and shoot just create scenes to get a performance out of it, and it's portrayed by Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
I like the cast in it: Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy, Heather Graham, Christine Baranski, Jamie Kennedy. Terrence Stamp shows up at one point as I think like a doctor guru guy, and then Robert Downey Jr. is in one scene in the movie where he reads the last line of the script, which is "Gotcha, suckers," and he's like, "That's a good line." Yeah.
It's a fun movie.
That's
way
too
movie.
Much.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie. But moving on moving back to the score. Steven, have you ever seen the score?
No, I don't think I've ever gotten around to it. I wanted to watch it for this episode, but it was like I was looking at what I could watch, and this movie's like over 2 hours, and I was like,
yeah,
I think I can fit in the hour and a half Italian movie, Italian Gothic movie.
When you get down to it, you've got to pick which one you want.
Yeah.
Which one you want to do. So the score has actually gotten 3 Blu-ray releases before this 4K UHD was announced. It got a release in 2012, 2013, and 2017. And going back to the original release was put out by Paramount, and I'm assuming the one that came out the following year was put out by Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers and Paramount had some type of odd distribution deal in the 2010s where one would put out a movie and then it would get re-released in a cheaper price by the other company the following year. They had some weird kind of deal going on with that stuff. But the one that came out in 2017 was re-released once again by Paramount. So it went Paramount, Warner Brothers, Paramount, and now I assume this is part of the Paramount deal that Kino recently made. So we're back again with another version of the score, and it's a cool heist movie starring really famous actors that you know. And I wanted to actually check to make sure that this was the last role from Marlon Brando, and it was not. I'm way off. No, not really.
I was say he couldn't have been alive too much longer.
No, he passed away in 2004 at the age of 80. So after this, he's got credits, but it's kind of like his last feature film credit. Like, for example, the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, which they put out in 2006, he's in it, so they're credited as him being in that movie. But of course, it's Marlon Brando circa the late 70s and not him in the early 2000s. He did a voice for a TV movie called Big Bug Man in 2006, and then that was it. So this is kind of like post-mortem type things.
Yeah.
And he got credit for being, Don Vito Corleone's voice character in the Godfather video game. So so this was his last feature film, was the score. And I just remember him wearing a Hawaiian shirt in the movie. That's all I really remember. And I believe he was Robert De Niro's handler or something.
All right.
So that's the score. I know a lot of people probably heard about that movie, but it's getting yet again another Blu-ray release, so this time a UHD 4K release. So moving on from there, just scrolling up on their Facebook page here, we have Blind Fury. Now, Steven, you have seen this movie for the first time, so I'm going to let you kind of talk about it.
Yeah,
I've seen it, but I want you to talk about it.
Yeah, Rutger Hauer plays as you told me before this, and I completely agree with you. Zatoichi. He's playing Zatoichi, the swordsman, basically, and so he's like a Vietnam vet who gets blinded during his time over there, and then gets taken in by the people there, and then trained up to become like a blind swordsman, somebody that can survive in the world with using all his other senses. And so then he travels back to America at some point. I think it's like 10 years later, and then is on a trying to start his life, but then he gets caught up in like the crime element of some that interacts with a certain family. I think of family of somebody that he was
it was like his
friend from when he was over in Vietnam.
His friend from when he was in Vietnam.
Yeah,
yes.
So he goes to help them and gets caught up on all the shit that's going on in that. But it's not like some piece of art, but it's a very I really enjoyed watching it. Rutger Hauer's like cutting things up with swords. Anything that comes by him, he can cut it with a sword. A bug, an apple, whatever you throw at him, he was going to cut it in half. So it's pretty cool.
Yes, and I was also remarking to Stephen that this movie has just gotten a Blu-ray release already from Mill Creek in 2021, which was last year. Actually, January of 2021. So this is a very interesting re-release from them. So, I mean, for those of you who know, Mill Creek's releases, there's like a 95 to 99% chance there are no special features, and there, of course, was no special features with that release.
Does trailers count?
I don't even think no supplements. Yeah, I don't think there's any supplements at all.
Not even a trailer? No. Does it have a main menu screen? Does that count?
Yeah, they do. There's no DVD or digital copies included. There's no... I like the Blu-ray.com review under the special features says the Blu-ray release of Blind Fury contains no supplemental content. The main menu screen, which consists of the film clips play under music, offers only options for play and subtitles and putting subtitles on and off. Oh.
That's sweet of them. They at least do that for you.
But on the flip side, this is getting a new audio commentary by screenwriter Charles Robert Carner, moderated by filmmaker Douglas Hostale. And you are getting a trailer, which has been newly remastered, if that's your thing.
I think I'm going to buy this.
You're getting a limited, and there's a limited edition O-card slipcase as well. I dig the the art
as
well.
Where he's
it's
like
the same art they used for the Mill Creek release, and
it works, man. He literally cuts everything.
It's just Rutger Hauer like using the sword.
He literally cuts everything.
he may be blind, but he don't need no dog. That's the phrase on the cover.
Oh
here.
Man,
why? He could have just didn't need that, but whatever. So that's Blind Fury. I concur with Steven. It's a fun movie. Came out in 1989, directed by... great year. Oh, good. I knew you were going to mention it again. But directed by Philip Noyce. Noyce. Who directed Dead Calm and Patriot Games and a lot of other kind of like 90s thrillers, if I remember. He always ends up like showing up randomly on when I go back to watch some 90s thriller. And it's like, he's just a director that I don't think a lot of people remember. He directed... Oh, he's still working, actually. I didn't even realize that. He's got like 4 or 5 productions in tow right now. But yeah, he directed a bunch of stuff. Nothing, I'm actually looking right now, nothing really screams out to me. Oh, The Saint. That's what I remember. Yeah, he directed The Saint, The Quiet American, like I said, Patriot Games. He's done a lot of TV work as well. He directed the movie The Giver a few years ago. By a few years, I mean 8 years ago. He directed the movie The Desperate Hour, which actually just came out, starring Naomi Watts. I think that's streaming on Hulu now, if I remember, because I think I added it to my watch list. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, he's still very, very active. And yeah, so that's Blind Fury. And moving on here, we have the last thing that was just announced 8 hours ago. And this is a movie called Assassination, 1967, starring Henry Silva, And I don't know anything about this movie, Steven.
Me either. I believe it's Italian. It's an Italian kind of gangster film, or I guess, assassin film from 1967. Henry Silva's kind of an iconic actor. He's got that look on his face that never changes. But
I like how when you type assassination into IMDb, you get a list of movies that
20 other
you're
movies.
Yeah, you get, because there's been so many movies with the name assassination in them, that it's just like incredible. So, people need to come up with more original names. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, Henry Silva was in. He was in The Manchurian Candidate from 1962. He's in Ghost Dog. He was in Dick Tracy, a movie that doesn't get enough people talking about it. One, because it's such an odd film. Two, because Dick Tracy is such a comic book character that I don't think people really know about anymore.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, Dick Tracy was a big thing, and it's interesting kind of with the comic book craze that's happened over the last decade or dozen years or so. They haven't found a way to like revive the Dick Tracy character in any way. Like even make like a Dick Tracy TV series, which would be like this cool like detective noir series or something.
Well,
with these eccentric characters, bad guy characters.
Maybe we're getting around to them because first of all, we're getting sick of the same. I think some people are getting
the superheroes.
The normal superhero stuff. I think Dick Tracy getting a show is probably more likely than a movie. But even characters, especially since we were talking about how we're getting around to the 90s again. Even characters like the Ninja Turtles, who've been done 1,000 times, are a comic book.
Yes.
And then of course The Mask.
One of my favorites, actually.
We talked about Jim Carrey. The Mask is a comic book.
Is a comic book.
It's a Dark Horse comic, so it could be redone, and maybe it'd be hard to not see anybody else but Jim Carrey playing him, but you could do it.
I wonder who owns the rights to Dick Tracy, movie wise, like movie rights, if anyone does at all, because as you just mentioned, I think Paramount owns the rights to. Like, they own the rights to, like, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, those all had comic book versions. Transformers, I think, was based off of a comic, or maybe based on a toy line. I don't know. Either way, Turtles, you're right, are based off of a comic. So I'm wondering who has Dick Tracy, because I know that original Dick Tracy movie, the Blu-ray that was put out, and you can currently buy, is put out by Disney/Buena Vista. So maybe Disney still owns the rights to them. Yeah. I don't know. Disney seems to own everything these days.
I don't want to see their version of the movie, but maybe maybe they'll do a Hulu series.
Could be.
Yeah.
But Assassination came out, like I said, 1967. Do you know what the premise of this movie is?
No.
Jay Chandler is sentenced to death only to reemerge as his own brother, courtesy of the CIA, who have arranged the subterfuge so they can use him as a double agent. Damn, that sounds like an interesting premise.
Well.
Yeah, and then Jay Chandler is portrayed by Henry Silva. Sounds very similar to Face Off, or something like that. I don't know why. I got Face Off vibes.
Italian Face Off.
I got Nick Cage on the brain.
Italian Face Off. All right, well.
Yeah, so
that's Assassination.
That is it from Kino. And we don't know when that movie's coming out. It just says brand new 4K restoration and coming soon. So moving on from there, we move to our only slate of the week. This was the last in line, Steven. As I know that's a song from somewhere, and I can't remember who does it.
I
want to say Ronnie James Dio, but I don't know. Anywho, so moving on from there, we've got Arrow, like I said, and Arrow had one of their bigger slates in recent times. Lately, it's been small slates of only like 2 releases, and this one was a full-on classic Arrow slate of stuff. Steven, run this down for us here, because it's quite a doozy.
Yeah, and so this is their October slate. So we're getting a bunch of nice, horror, thriller, sci-fi genre type of stuff. So starting off with the big, I think a big one for everybody is We're getting a 4K of David Cronenberg's Videodrome. It's coming in two different versions where you're getting, I think, the artwork from the Blu-ray release and then the original artwork. And they're, but it's going to have the same content, I believe. 4K restorations, whole bunch of extras on here. Making of from 1982, just a bunch of, and all the other stuff, posters and all that things. Also, we have some newer stuff. We have a couple films that are pretty recent. We have a film called Two Witches that is from, I believe, 2021. And then we have a film called Take Back the Night, which is also, I think, from 2021. And then we have a couple collections here. First one we have is Gothic Fantastico, 4 Italian Tales of Terror, which include the films Lady Morgan's Vengeance. On disc 2 we have Blanchetteville's Monster. Disc 3 we have The Third Eye, and then disc 4 we have The Witch, not the one of recent times. And then lastly we have a 2-film collection, the Count Yoga or Yorga, the Yorga Count Lorga collection, with the 2 films, Count Yorga Vampire, and then The Return of Count Yorga. So, yeah, very interesting slate. Videodrome, that's the one. That's the big one right here, right?
Is that the one you're going to be circling on your pre-order list?
Well, I was telling you before, I've been doing a better job at not impulse buying because I have a baby now. So I don't do as much pre-ordering. I think the only things I really pre-order are the ones I need to, I just like some of the big box sets, like the Indicator stuff, and then like some of Severance stuff I go ahead and order. But for the most part, I don't pre-order anymore. Like this stuff, I'll wait for it to arrive at Orbit DVD, and if I'm in a position to buy it, I will buy it. Videodrome is definitely the number one priority here.
I was just gonna say, I know you're such a big David Cronenberg fan.
Yeah,
that this seems like a set that's an edition that's made for you, specifically because it is chock full of extra features. This may be the most complete and definitive release of Videodrome to date.
Yeah,
it's getting a brand new 4K restoration from the original camera negative by Arrow Films. You're getting audio commentary by Tim Lucas. You're getting just all kinds of documentary stuff about David Cronenberg and his work, and about horror and censorship, and the effects of the movie, and all of that stuff. And for those of you interested, the Criterion Edition, which I know many of us have. I know I have it. Steven, I know you have it. That disc came out in 2010. So that is an old Blu-ray release of about a dozen years. And so this is gonna have a much better transfer. And of course, when it comes to special features, this release has many more special features, but there are some special features that do cross over.
Well, I was gonna say also, many of these features were ones already included on the Blu-ray from Arrow,
from Arrow a few years ago.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm trying to see what year that release came out.
Okay, but I can definitely tell you that for those of you who have the Criterion release, or maybe held on to the Criterion release and didn't already upgrade to the Arrow release from recently, there are a couple of things that do cross over, like a lot of Fear on Film, which is a roundtable discussion with David Cronenberg and John Landis and John Carpenter. That gets carried over. A couple of the things like Forging the Flesh, which is about the special effects of the movie. I think that gets carried over. And there's just,
does
stuff like that.
Does the Criterion have both versions on there?
It does have
the director.
Criterion does have the camera, the Cronenberg short film as well, and so does this release. I don't know if it has that one I actually just mentioned. It does have Fear on Film. I don't know if it has Forging the Flesh. Actually, maybe it does. Yeah, it does have. Yeah, it has Forging the New Flesh. That's what they call it. But so it's got all that stuff. But did you track down when that Blu-ray
Yes,
release came out?
the Blu-ray came out in 2015.
Oh, damn. That's
So
fine.
so it's a little newer than even the Blu-ray's newer than the Criterion's. But what I was gonna say, does the Criterion have both cuts of the movie?
Oh,
Because this is
That's a good
coming with a
question.
director's cut and a U.S. theatrical cut.
the Criterion release only has one cut, and that's the 89-minute
Okay.
cut of the
So
movie.
so
whichever
really,
that
this
is.
Arrow version seems to be, like you said, the more complete version. If you're wanting two cuts of the movie,
Yeah, if you want like the movie in its best quality with the most special features,
yeah.
yes. Because I don't think that 2015 release has the same transfer as this.
No,
At
it's
least
just
I
a high
don't-
definition digital. Yeah.
Yeah, because this must be new.
Yeah, this is completely new transfer.
So
yeah.
this brings up our age-old question: when does one upgrade from a Blu-ray to a 4K? I think this is the textbook case.
Yeah, this is one where I won't argue with myself.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Stephen, your theories have just been thrown in the trash.
This one I
Come
will
on.
not argue with myself because this has
No,
got
this is- yeah,
a
this is
clear
one where, like,
upgrade.
This isn't one like the Blu-ray came out a year or two ago, and now they're putting out the 4K, which seems to be happening so much lately.
Yeah.
No, this is like the Blu-ray came out either 7 or 12 years ago, and desperately needs.
Yeah, I have the
needs an
Criterion
upgrade.
one. I don't even have that Blu-ray from Arrow, so
I
it's-
don't. Yeah, I didn't remember that one actually coming out. I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention to Arrow at the time. So yeah, this is the way to go.
definitely.
But not moving on, but like going over some of these other releases. Steven, what kind of pops out at you? That 4-movie Italian like gothic horror set
Yeah.
is got me intrigued. I watched the first 2 films. You watched the last 2 films. So together we've seen
Yeah,
all of them.
we've seen it, yeah.
Yeah. In a way, in a quasi way.
Yeah, Arrow's been putting out a lot of interesting Italian stuff. Like they've been putting out all that. They did the was it what's the lead one? What is it called?
Years of Lead.
Years of Lead. The police
I have over here.
police film. The police crime films.
Yeah, they put out those spaghetti western films
Spaghetti
as well,
westerns.
which are Italian westerns. Yeah, they've been doing a lot in Italian film, and this here is a set of 4 films, like Steven said. All of them are getting 2K restorations. You know who worked on this set was Kat Ellinger, so that automatically kind of
Kicks it up. Yeah.
sways it in a positive direction of
Yeah.
getting it at some point. Because if it gets a, stamp of approval from her, it's a stamp of approval that I pay attention to. And each movie's coming on its own disc. So I saw Lady Morgan's Vengeance and I saw The Blancheville Monster. So Lady Morgan's Vengeance is a movie where this woman marries this kind of skeevy, jerk guy, who kind of tricks her into
Skeevy
marrying.
jerk guy.
Skeevy jerk.
Yeah,
guy, I don't know how to
that's
say
his
it.
name.
Kind of convinces her. Well, she wants to marry somebody else, and then the guy tries to remove the other party so that he can marry her, and then things end up going to where they have to murder her, and she comes back as a ghost. Now, I'm being very cagey about any other plot elements that are in there. There's more to it than that, but that's the gist of it. So you're getting, and the setting is like a period piece. It's in like a giant castle type structure. I told Steven when it comes to both Lady Morgan's Vengeance and the Blancheville Monster, these feel like the Roger Corman, Vincent Price, Edgar Allan Poe adaptations that you saw around that same time, that 1960s era. And they feel like that.
Yeah.
With the sets and the fog and the over dramatized situations and all these things, with the murders and things. So it's a very cool atmospheric type movie. I dig it. what intrigues me the most about this set is just the sheer amount. All their special features are brand new.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting a commentary and video essay on each movie. You're getting interviews with people. This is an incredibly, well done set here. Also, and then the Blancheville Monster is a movie that's actually a quasi adaptation. Speaking of Edgar Allan Poe, of the Fall of the House of Usher, it's very much takes that plot line and is kind of a remake of that, but kind of a mishmash of a lot of other Edgar Allan Poe type stories. And it is yet again a kind of a gothic horror with atmosphere and stuff like that. And a young woman and her I think new husband come back home, and then her brother is trying to end this family curse and by wanting to kill her and stuff like that. The Lady Morgan's Vengeance has this thing where there's like gaslighting going on, and I'm like, this movie feels like the movie Gaslight, the one starring Ingrid Bergman from the 40s, because they're like trying to convince this woman that she's going crazy and all of these things, and it's really fascinating. So I know I'm kind of going all over the place here because I kind of watch these movies in the wee early hours of the morning, so they're kind of meshing together here. But Stephen, what did you think of The Third Eye and The Witch? Because I know you had an interesting take on those.
Yeah, I can tell you right now that The Third Eye alone has got me kind of sold on the set. Like, I really liked it. It was really a surprise. I was, sometimes when you're watching a film that, is not, when we find these, as we always say, we find these and they're not in great quality when we're watching them. And sometimes you can get
I had to watch, I watched both Lady Morgan's Vengeance and Blancheville Monster. I think I watched them both on YouTube.
Yeah, this was on YouTube as well. And sometimes when they're not in great quality, sometimes your mind can veer because you're like sick of looking at a terribly transferred image. But this movie kept me engaged even with that issue. And you got a young Franco Nero, an early starring role for him in this, where he's this like young count which that's as you said in the other two, that's kind of where that makes this gothic-y. There's this guy that's the head of some castle. He owns this castle or some kind of manor or something, and that's really kind of where it throws itself into that gothic horror area. But his wife is accidentally killed, and then from there he starts to kind of, it almost goes down a Hitchcockian path, almost in the sense of Psycho, where he's like acting out on, repressed, fears and memories, and like ends up killing people in the process. Like it's a very psychological kind of movie, and like I said, really good performance by Franco Nero. It's different. It's weird seeing him in this movie without like the beard, the scruff. From his westerns, Django films, and stuff like that. Seeing him in this, where he's youthful and really playing in a role where he's a lot more wider range than playing kind of the stoic type. But then The Witch, it's a little. I would say it's not as much of my favorite as the other one. It's okay. Where you got this historian who's going to a library to look into some like ancient artifacts kind of things, and then he gets caught up with like the daughter of this like mistress lady who's possibly into supernatural things, and he kind of gets basically taken hostage, and it's got an erotic angle to it.
Okay.
So it's a little different, but still it has its moments in the movie. It's one I would like to watch again. I was a little distracted watching this one. I'm taking care of a baby. So, but definitely, The Third Eye is one to check out. And as I said, it's on YouTube. It's watchable, still a little, not great quality, but if you really want to check it out before buying this, I would, because it's good. I liked it. But yeah, Arrow's killing it with some Italian stuff. They always do. I'm very
impressed with this set.
Yeah,
I'm very impressed with the amount of work that went into it. The last film, which is The Witch, actually the commentary is by Kat Ellinger, and that's the only one that she did on here.
Yeah.
But she did the video essay for Lady Morgan's Vengeance.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are the two that I'm actually most curious about now. Yeah, The Witch. Yeah. So how was The Witch? Actually,
I just talked about it.
Oh, you did, of course.
I'm glad you were listening.
Ignored everything you just said.
I'm glad you were listening, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm completely not in it.
I saw you were in the middle of having to message somebody, I think. So I don't think you heard it.
Why don't you just say that on screen?
I wanted to
extremely unprofessional.
I wanted to embarrass you for a second, and then I was going to let everybody know that he was having to message somebody, so he missed what I said. It's okay.
Exactly. There you go. So why don't you just give away all of our secrets?
Well, it's better. It's better that I told him than to make you sound like you weren't listening to me.
Yeah, very true. You did. You like saved me by also drowning me at the same time.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
But I was almost gonna say we can wrap this up, but no, I didn't talk about the Count York collection.
Well, and then I got to talk about Take Back the Night because I watched that too.
Yeah. So I watched both Count Yorga Vampire and The Return of Count Yorga, its sequel. So Count Yorga the Vampire is kind of what you assumed it to be. It is an adaptation of the Count Dracula story. I guess they couldn't use the name Count Dracula, so they going to use the name Count Yorga. But Count Yorga you take the classic like vampire story that was kind of in like Eastern Europe, and you bring it to like Southern California and like San Francisco.
Yeah.
and that's like Count Yorga. It's a similar type premise where he gets infatuated with a woman, and he captures her and wants to make her his bride, and he's got to be stopped by her, significant other, boyfriend, if you will, and somebody else. And it just happens to be like a doctor who is investigating this woman who has had an encounter with Count Yorga, and she's losing blood, and she's weak, and she's sickly, and he very, very quickly realizes that vampirism is a thing, and he's like, yeah, this could be a vampire, and he goes down that track very quickly, and they try to stop Count Yorga. That's kind of the premise of Count Yorga the Vampire, and it's exactly what you think it to be. Robert Quarry plays Count Yorga, and he's like this mysterious count who dresses like he's a very wealthy guy from Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie, and then the sequel, The Return of Count Yorga, sees Count Yorga literally on the streets of San Francisco, where he sets his sights. They literally say it here. He sets his sights on an orphanage as a potential source of sustenance, and that's kind of the premise there, where he's not going after. It makes it sound like he's going after the children of the orphanage, which is a little sadistic, if you will. There is some of that in there, but he's mostly like looking after. He's mostly going after the people who run the orphanage and stuff like that. Once again, he becomes infatuated with a woman, and he tries to take her for himself, and people around her try to stop him. That's the Return of Count Yorga. It's a fun cult classic, double feature of movies. These are both getting new 2K restorations by Arrow Films. They're both coming with actually a plethora of special features. Brand new audio commentary by Tim Lucas on the first one. Brand new audio commentary by film critic Stephen R. Bissett on the second film. You got an archival audio commentary on both of these, both done by David Del Valle and C. Courtney Joyner. And it goes into kind of all kinds of cool, like, behind-the-scenes stuff, and interviews with Frank Darabont is on Count Yorga as well, which is very cool. So a bit of a double cult classic here, very much in the same vein that Arrow's been doing now for years. But yeah, that's the Count Yorga collection. So moving on from there, Steven, you got to see one of the newer films. Yeah, I tried to watch. I wanted to find Two Witches to watch as well, but could not find it. But I did watch Take Back the Night. Take Back the Night sounds like a slogan. Yeah, well, it makes me think of We Own the Night. The John Gray
directed
I
film.
was thinking of
Joaquin Phoenix
yeah, I know exactly that movie.
yeah.
I was thinking of Halloween Kills, the movie that came out last year.
Yes.
Evil Dies Tonight. Don't ask me why.
Why are you thinking of that? That's random.
Because I think they just released the trailer for the
new one,
the final film in that trilogy. I think that's why. But We Own the Night is definitely a much better example of using night in the word. That's kind of an underrated movie.
It is underrated. I like it.
2007, directed by James Gray, who is a really good director.
It's got a great car scene in that film, a chase scene in that film that's really well filmed. Yeah.
Great cast in that movie. For those of you who don't know who James Gray is, he's directed some films that I really like. The Lost City of Z from 2016, underrated film. Ad Astra with Brad Pitt. I dug it.
It's okay.
I dug it. Kind of a thematic, slow burn sci-fi, if you will. I dug it. Yeah, We Own the Night is one of his early films. Great cast. Isn't it Joaquin Phoenix, Mark Wahlberg,
yep.
Eva Mendes,
Robert,
I don't know.
Robert Duvall.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah, Bobby Duvall's in it. That's what we call him because we're best friends.
Bobby.
Yeah, call him Bobby Duvall, like Bobby De Niro.
Yeah.
Like we're best friends.
Of course.
I always find that so weird when I'm watching an interview with Martin Scorsese and he refers to Robert De Niro as Bobby. And I'm like, who's Bobby? He's like, oh, that's Robert De Niro. I'm like, in my greatest mind, I would never call Robert De Niro Bob or Bobby.
Yeah.
Like, these people are too exalted for me. Same thing with Robert Duvall. Imagine calling him like Bob Duvall or something. Seems too disrespectful, if you will. But moving on, back to what you were talking about.
Okay, so Take Back the Night is a film from 2021. It's a film about a young kind of, I guess you could call her an influencer. She's like an artist. You know, she's all over social media and things like that. And then she gets attacked one night. And, this movie is just kind of a big allegory for, violence against women or how people don't believe women when they say they've been attacked or like, and they visualize that with a legitimate creature in the movie. This creature actually attacks her. And of course, she can't explain it. So then they think she's lying. So it goes through a lot of that stuff. I'll be honest, I don't think the movie's that great. I give it maybe a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Like it's got some good, I mean, the lead actress in the film's good. I like her. Her name's Emma Fitzpatrick. I find her acting to be good, but I don't know. I don't know if it's, the visualization of this creature didn't do it for me. It was a little bit kind of obvious that it was overly CGI creature that just didn't make sense to me. It's like they tried to go for the Babadook, but didn't have the heft of like the writing to make a movie like the Babadook, where there's a creature. But is the creature real? Is this a real creature? I still don't know. Maybe the creature was supposed to be real in the movie, but what's the point if the creature's real? Like, if it's supposed to be an allegory for, victim blaming and violence. Like, it just seems like it doesn't really have a focus. So that's my opinion on a first watch. But it's on, I believe I watched it on Amazon Prime. You have to rent it. So check it out if it's something that interests you, but I personally didn't care for it that much. It has good intentions, just not greatly executed for me.
Not well executed.
Not for me. So that's, and I, like I said, didn't see 2 witches, so.
Okay.
All right, man.
That seems to be everything.
That's it.
And that'll wrap up the month of July.
Yeah.
For announcements. It's kind of coincidentally how that all kind of came to an end, just like that we're filming our last episode of the month towards the very end of the month. Kind of wraps up everything.
That's it, yep.
So that is it for us on episode or spy number 60. Steven, you want to give us the outro?
I'll do it, I guess. I always do it.
Yeah, I don't, because I don't even know how to do it. That's why I never do it.
I've done it so many times. It's like nothing. Hey, Andrew,
nothing.
Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Kevzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings. You can find me at the other Chasing Labels pages, which could be our Facebook group on, just search Chasing Labels Film Collector Podcast, and we're on there, and we'll let you in, and you talk movies with us. You can go to our Twitter or our Instagram and follow us there. You can also get the audio for the podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and other places. Thanks again for listening, and hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.